And 3, 2, 1. And we are live, ladies and gentlemen. Before we officially get started, y'all let me know in the chat if you can hear my voice coming through. Let me know right now. Hurry up. And then after that, I'm going to have my guest, who will remain nameless at the moment, but I'm going to have him do a testing real quick. Let us know if you can hear him as well. So go ahead, my friend. Hit me with the testing.
Hey, guys. What's up? Can you hear me?
All right, guys. Can you hear him? Let us know in the chat. And test is okay. All right, so before we officially get started, let's roll that mother effing intro. And it starts right in the middle. That's all right, though. What's going on, Print fam? It's your boy Cam, and thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Print Life Live Video Podcast, where we talk about screen printing. We talk about all things related to screen printing, the business of screen printing, sometimes just general business, sometimes graphics, just anything we want to talk about. Today's guest, this is an interesting one. Let me think how to start this, man. I have a whole script here, but I think I'm going to freestyle this a little bit. For me, especially with the Instagram and YouTube and stuff, when I see another shop, if they're bigger than me and they're just doing incredible things, or smaller than me and just getting started, I, as a printer and as a business person, often wonder to myself, what are these dudes or dudes and dudettes up to? You know, and I think in the past, this industry has been very withholding of information and not willing to share, especially with other people that are ultimately their competition. But when you have a shop that is willing to come in and actually talk to you and be forthcoming about this information, it's invaluable to all of us, right? No matter where we're at in the business, if we're way ahead or if we're way behind, it's incredible information to take in. This particular company I found them on Instagram. I can't remember how, so forever ago, because it just seems like they were printing really cool stuff. And then, I started looking around, seeing what they're doing. They got YouTube videos. They got all kinds of shit going on. And it's just a really cool company. So I figured maybe we can extract some useful knowledge from him and all learn together. So without further ado, I would like to welcome Gilligan from Upstate Merch. Welcome, Dylan. How are you?
What's up, dude? How's it going?
So good, my friend. Thank you for coming on. How you feeling?
I feel good.
Cool.
A little tired. Been up since early this morning. Had to come in and catch up on emails, but I mean that's the grind at this point.
Right on. Are you guys the kind of shop that's having to pull like double shifts and stuff? Are you at that?
Not really. I mean, we basically just do a normal 9 to 5, but cool. I mean, there's definitely days, like we call it, pretty much for us, it's Taco Tuesday, because we end up staying until 8 or 9 and then run to UPS and get tacos afterwards. But
Word.
For the most part, it's just, trying to make sure everybody's stuff goes out on time.
Yeah, it seems, well, I mean, we're going to get into all that stuff, but yeah, I mean, your guys' shop is awesome. The first thing that I noticed, actually, before we even do that, I'm going to bring up your Instagram here. Because, I look at it and it just seems like you guys you work with a lot of really cool, like a lot of bands and stuff like that, right? You do a lot of merch for different bands and things of that nature.
Yeah, that's how we started, is doing a ton of bands. But I mean, nowadays we just kind of pick and choose, hopefully, companies we really want to work with. Like, I don't know, it seems like lately we've been doing like a ton of like horror companies designs, and we've been doing a lot of like comic book shops and bands and stuff we want to work with and companies we want to work with. So
yeah, like I'm seeing this one here with the guy with the Jason mask, and this is like the graphic is sick as shit.
Yeah.
Now, do you guys print with water-based, plastisol, both? What's your kind of preference?
Yeah, we try to use both as much as possible. I mean, it depends on the design. Most of the time, and people don't think about it as much anymore with plastisol, but there's a ton that you can do with plastisol it's really effective, like additives and soft-hand base and all that stuff. And people just look at it as like some dude in a sports shop that prints it super thick, and it doesn't have to be that way.
Right.
Generally, on these big, oversized prints that we do for all these like horror companies and bands and stuff, we try to do like a discharge underbase and then colors on top. So it feels like basically printing plastisol on a white t-shirt. So
Yeah, we were just talking to Jesse from Matsui Inc. last week about that. And he gave me a tip because I've always been discharging through fairly low mesh counts.
yeah.
And he was saying, well, dude, you got to go pretty high to prevent evaporation. Is this something you found? It makes the discharging process easier when you're printing through a higher mesh?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the goal for water-based is to try to get it all evaporated going through the dryer. So
Yeah.
if you don't get it all out and you put plastisol on top of it, the ink's going to fall off
Yeah.
after the wash. So you really need to, I mean, that's the biggest thing with water-based is making sure it goes to the dryer at the correct time. Like I'm pretty sure we run ours through our big sprint dryer and it's on the lowest belt setting.
Yeah. Even
So
on
it takes 2.5 to 3 minutes to go through the dryer.
Yeah.
So
That's what's up, man. Moving on. I'm actually, as you were talking, I'm flipping through a lot of your guys' Instagram shit, and like to me, it just feels like your body of work, it kills. And I'm showing them on screen too, so they can all look at it. It's beautiful. I'm gonna ask you a little bit more about your clients and some techniques to get in. But before that, I feel like I would like to know, as long as everybody listening, what you consider your specialty to be. Do you have a graphics background? Are you a print background?
I didn't know at all that I was going to be doing this, whatever, like 10, 12 years ago. But yeah, I mean, I had a background a little bit. I mean, I was in a band, but I did all our like design work for the shirts and I kind of taught myself Photoshop and all that stuff. And then, yeah, I mean, like I said, nowadays it's more, we don't really hunt for clients. It's more they just kind of come to us because they hear, you know, like I said, you do bigger bands and comic shops and stuff. They tend to tell, you know, close friends of theirs that own other places about us, and then it just snowballs into anything and everything at that point.
But it does sound like you're almost you're kind of self-taught, huh? Like
yeah, no, yeah, everything for the most part.
So why does a man such as yourself decide to move into screen printing? I mean, what were you doing beforehand, and then how did that lead into this thing that you're doing now?
Well, I was just like a punk kid out of high school, and I was actually working at Sears installing appliances. And my wife, well, girlfriend at the time, was super into doing crafts and all that stuff, and she was marketing herself, and she went online and bought 100 1-inch buttons, and it was like some stupid number, like, I don't know, it was like $75, $80 or something for the buttons. And when they came in the mail, it was like the size of my hand. And I was, there's no way this is worth like $80. So I went online just pissed off and ended up ordering a button press and all this stuff. And I was like, oh, I could, you know, if you can make this much money off of these, like I did the math and I was like, I could do this. And I ordered everything I needed for a button machine, and I made buttons for the band I was in, and then all these other bands started wanting buttons. So I basically started a company called Merch Buttons, like when I was 17. So that was, you know, I'm 32 now. So
you've been banging around this business for a long time.
Yeah. So I started that company, and then I was doing, and that was when MySpace first came out. So basically I was hustling on MySpace. And then back then there was like way less rules. Like there were MySpace bots and all this stuff where you could just like hit up everybody.
Right.
So we started doing that, and then a good buddy of mine, Ben Landy, who did like a ton of designs for Hot Topic at the time, was like, "Oh, you should outsource T-shirts and stickers." So I was like, "All right." I kind of contacted a company in Georgia, which some of you guys probably know, Terminus Tees. And they were printing all my shirts and, you know, everything else. And then it got to a point where I was selling a shitload of shirts for them. And John was like, hey, like, do you want to come down here? I'll buy your button company, and you can like be one, you know, basically him and me doing sales for Terminus.
Whoa.
So I was like, yeah, sure. That sounds cool. I got nothing else going on.
So you kind of like, he brought you in to start becoming more of like a sales rep?
Yeah, I was a sales rep. That's all I was.
But as a retailer though, right? A retail sales rep, not for merch at that point.
Yeah, for merch. It was all, because that's all they did is like band merch.
Oh shit.
So they had me come down, and basically it was the same hustle. It was just, you know, like contacting bands and going to shows and talking to them there, and just a lot of like outreach stuff.
Wow.
And then I was there for like a year, and I don't know, a little over a year and a half, almost 2 years. And I decided like I was making them a ton of money, and I, you know, knew enough where I was like, I'm going to move back home to New York. So I decided to move back home, and basically before I even left, I started the Upstate website. So that was in 2009.
Damn, dude.
And then as soon as I came back, I was like ready to go. Um, I had like my wife's grandfather's old sign shop, which is basically a two-car garage,
Uh,
to work out of. So I was lucky there. I didn't really have rent, but yeah, we started with one manual. It was a silver press, two station, four color.
really? That's what you started
Yeah,
on, huh?
yeah. And then I think Ryan like just came out with that. It was like,
Wow.
I mean, they were young then too. So
Well, it sounds to me like for you, I mean, I don't know if that's what helped you build Upstate merch the way you did, but you have like a strong understanding of acquiring clients through like traditional sales techniques, right?
yeah, like that's basically how I did everything. And like I don't consider myself like a printer. I mean, I know a lot about screen printing because I've been doing the business forever and like how to do everything, but I don't print myself at all.
Okay.
Like I'll go out and print stuff here and there if I want to like, print a job for myself or for friends or family or something, but
Right.
I know how to do everything. It's just I'm basically the guy behind the desk that just like runs the business and does the sales and all that stuff.
So that's freaking amazing, man. I mean, we're just crushing all these questions I have written down here, man. You nailed so many of them. Um, in what you do as a person that's really trying to grow the business and market the business and these sorts of things, what is the single most, in your opinion, single most important thing for a new business to do to acquire clients?
To acquire clients?
Yeah.
Um, Basically, I would say I mean, you kind of really want to just to start. I would say to pick a niche. Um, Hold on a second, my guys are outside.
That's all right, man.
What? So yeah, basically, yeah, just pick a niche and kind of go from there. I mean, I feel like too many shops just say they want to do screen printing and then they just kind of like are too spread thin and they're just kind of like trying to get a band, and then the next they're trying to get like a salon, and they're trying to get, all these random clients. And I feel like if you just like, buckle down and pick something specific,
Yeah.
it's way more targeted, and basically the lingo and how to talk to that person. And that's how I started, was with bands, because I was in one,
Yeah.
and it was easy to be like, hey, like I know for a fact that if so many bands too are even like, oh, they want like all this crazy stuff. They want like 100 shirts with like a 5-color oversized front and like 5-color oversized back. And it's like, dude, do the math. Like if you order 25 white shirts with a 1-color print on it for like, I don't know, like $150, take those shirts, sell those shirts, and then you have almost double the money to buy 50 shirts. And then you sell those 50 shirts, and then you get 100 shirts. And then pretty soon you have a full line of merch for initial payment of like $150.
But so
And it's like,
would you advise these early guys that were trying to do those big color? You would advise them to
yeah,
slim it down and just make money in the beginning.
that's the biggest thing, is like you don't look at it as like, oh yeah, I'm going to take that dude's money because he wants to order all
Right.
this stuff. It's like, be real with the person and tell them what's going to help them down the road, because we have bands now that we've been working with this entire time that they're huge bands now, and it's like, they keep working with us because we're real dudes that just talk to them about like what they should really do, and like new brands of shirts that we know would help them, not necessarily like trying to upsell all the time. It's like, let me help you grow so that obviously you're going to help me grow because you're going to keep ordering from us.
Wow, man, that's freaking good advice, man. That's really good advice. So when it comes to customer service, you're not pushing to get the big color jobs, the big volumes. You're trying to help these potential clients do well, and in doing that, it does seem like it's brought them back. It keeps them coming back.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like as a business, you're like you want to make money and like take big orders and all this other stuff, but like I feel like you need to like look at the person and be like, are they gonna do that? And I feel like a lot of that's like everybody knows in our industry, like, oh, tax time is awesome because you get like a ton of people like thinking they want to start the next clothing line.
Yeah.
And it's like we've had so many people come in here and like be willing to spend like 5 grand on terrible ideas.
Right.
And it's like, there's times where I'm literally sat the person down and been like, are you sure you want to spend like all this money on this shirt that has like two lions staring at each other and it says like, hustle hard or something? It's like, dude,
Right.
nobody's gonna buy that. Like, I'm
Right.
sorry, but like, I'd
So,
rather be like, hey, let's get to a smaller order, focus on like two designs, and let's take that money and like extra money and go to like a really good designer and like let's crank out some really good ideas rather than like a Google image you gave me
right.
of like a tiger, and it's like this doesn't make any sense.
So, dude, that actually leads into something really interesting. So, my niche when I started wasn't music, but it was for sure people starting clothing brands. That's kind of how the
Yeah,
client I went
yeah,
after, and the graphics were a constant struggle, right? Because the stuff they bring, and you would often, as a person that had been in the industry for so long, you would see these graphics and you're like, dude, like you almost
yeah,
felt bad for them. You didn't want to take their money, but
yeah.
so in your experience, just kind of talking them down off the ledge and kind of sending them in the right direction is the best business move, even for you, even for
Yeah,
Upstate
and like I
Merch.
said, I feel like you don't want to hurt their feelings. Like there's some that you're just like, all right, like this is what he really wants and this is what they really want to do. But I feel like a lot of those people, they might not want to say it, but they really need help with guidance into like how to really make this work.
It's
And
beautiful.
I feel like they might not say it, but like you should kind of push them in the direction a little bit and be like, hey, like I've seen this work before. This might be better option. Like I always tell them, like, dude, you can do whatever you want to do. Like if you want to order all this stuff, like I'll take your money. Like if you really want to do it, it is what it is. But like this is what I would suggest. And I feel like 9 times out of 10 they take your suggestion, and then like I said, they tell, like it spreads so much further to new customers when they're stoked about their order
Yeah.
than when you're just like they're just like happy or they just get the basic service. You know what I mean? Like if you're like, you're sure I'll print this order and you print it and you get it to them by the right date, but it's nothing special. It's just like you did what they needed. Like you were your Jiffy Lube basically.
Yeah.
Like if you like go into detail and help them like along the way and like steer them in the right direction, they're like, holy crap, like these guys really care about my product and they're not just cranking stuff out.
This is starting to turn into a theme, and I guess I hear it all the time, and I know like with Monument, I feel like we really fall off on this at times, but the theme is just really it's starting to become it's just especially in today's age it's the customer experience. It's not just a
Yeah,
service, but you're creating an experience, and it's not. Do you feel like Upstate that is what you guys do, and you do that
yeah,
best?
and I feel like that's the problem is so many people now are looking at, especially if you go to like trade shows and stuff, you're thinking like everything's going digital and like everybody's terrified that like Amazon's going to take over and like all this other stuff, and
Yeah.
it's like, dude, just be like a cool shop that is someplace people like be a brand. Like basically with you guys and like the print life and all that stuff, like people recognize you for that and they start coming to you because they know and see and all the stuff that you do. But it's the same thing with any print shop. It's like just take care of your customers. Like I have some massive customers that just like fully like trust us with everything. They'll be like, hey, I need like a couple thousand of this and a couple thousand of this. Like, here's my credit card number. And it's like, they just know we're going to do a good job. They don't have to worry about it. And it's like, that's what you want is you want those customers that just trust you and know that like if any issues or anything, even with the artwork, like we just did a ton of stuff for like Mott the Hooples on tour. It's like this huge band from the 70s,
Hmm.
and they gave us all this art that like some dude made. And it was probably like 13. It looked like,
Right.
and like we went through and like redid everything. Like we didn't charge anything. We just went through and like cleaned up lines and like straightened things out and stuff was like off center. And like the guy who manages the band like manages a ton of other bands, and he's like, dude, this is some of the best looking merch I've ever got, and I've dealt
Whoa.
with tons of companies, and it's just like
Huh.
they were doing a US tour and now they're going to UK, and there's like another printer that has to print basically what we printed in the UK
Yeah.
with the original art, not our art. So I'm like terrified of how it's going to come out over there because it's not us, you know what I mean? Like
Right.
not to say like we're amazing, but it's like
But you are confident in the product you guys that you're
yeah,
capable of
because I
putting out at this
know
point.
that it's taken care of, and I know like we panto match everything and like we are super organized with everything. So I know everything that leaves here for the most part is what we want it to be. It's not just like, holy crap, let's get like try to get 40 jobs out today, and that's what we're stoked on. We're more stoked on
Yeah.
the fact of like we printed this awesome print, and we can post it on Instagram, and we're stoked to promote it and stuff. And we're more about like having fun at work and hanging out and grilling than we are about like trying to pump out as many jobs as possible.
I can see that in your guys' Instagram account. You can really feel like even in just the way that you guys have curated your imagery on Instagram, you can feel that you guys give a shit. And
Yeah,
I think it bleeds
I think
through.
the biggest thing for us is like we're not in a city, we're in a smaller town, but like everybody here is like we're all friends, and like we want to be at work. Like realistically, we're cheating life right now because I just get to hang out with my best friends every day, listen to loud music, and I mean we're printing shirts and we're working, but like it's just stuff to pass the time through the day.
You're
really.
chilling.
Like
Yeah.
yeah, we're just hanging out.
That's sick, man. Yeah. So would you say that even if you're just starting out, if you're a couple of guys and you're like, is this culture that you create that is how important is culture?
That's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
And how
like
did
we just ran into that too because we're growing and we had to hire 2 new people. And like that was the biggest, like we've ran into so many mistakes with like hiring people over the years where you just like kind of blindly hire somebody, or you hire friends and family, which is the biggest mistake. Is just making sure somebody fits with you. Like I'll be honest, dude, like there's a lot of things that are said here in the shop and like goofed around about that are not PC, like not you know what I mean?
You can't live
And,
stream
like,
the shit you're saying.
yeah, like you don't want to hire, like we say this all the time, and I feel bad because every time we put something out that we're hiring, there's always those like 55-year-old mom with like 10 kids, and it's like,
right,
you're just not gonna, like I know you're probably awesome and whatever, but you're just not gonna fit in here when like Cannibal Corpse is played and it like the highest volume, and we're running around in like wrestling gear. Like it's just not gonna fly. Like
so that ability, it's not that you don't want to hire them, but you're almost doing them a favor by not putting them in a situation.
Yeah.
So when it comes to creating culture around your shop, you just have to you're bringing the people in that are like-minded. That's what it is.
And you need that for sure. Like I said,
but that doesn't come down to race, or it just comes down to or ethnicity or gender.
No, not at all.
It's just if you're into the same kind of shit, you can kind of you'll fit. It'll
basically.
fit. I love that, man. I had all this other stuff here. Yeah, so I think you've been mentioning a lot about this like creating a culture and all that, but I'd like to get your kind of perspective on starting. And so when you I don't know if maybe we can, because you told us a little bit, but maybe we could get your story, but also like just from what you've seen in the past, if you were going to advise a young person on starting in this business, what would you say?
Well, honestly, it is a business, so that's the number one thing. Is I feel like a lot of small shops show up and then they disappear is because they just try to go too hard too fast. I mean, the way we started, I had like no money when I came back from Georgia because living in Atlanta was expensive. So when I moved back, the first thing I did, which was hard, is I sold my motorcycle when I got back, and I took that money, which was like $4,000, and I bought the press and I bought the starter kit, like the ink starter kit for mixing Pantones, and like we bought like a used small dryer. It was an M&R dryer, but it was like those little little buddies or whatever they are.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean I had a shitty laptop, and we were in that garage that had no heat.
And that's just you and your wife, yeah?
Yeah, it was actually me.
Or your girlfriend.
Before I had in my mind that I was going to start Upstate before I left Georgia, and then and this is like a huge deal too that I'll let you know about is before I left, a buddy of mine who worked with me at Terminus was like, hey, I don't mind moving. I'm not attached to Georgia. I could come up and print for you. Like you could do sales and I could print. And that's how they did stuff there was they had 2 owners, and they had one guy who was in the office and handled sales, and they had one guy who was like the shop manager and ran everything. So I saw that model and I was like, hey, this works. Like it works for them. They're a great company. I have no problems with them. It works for them. I was like, all right, that kind of makes sense. And then Kyle was like, yeah, I'll come up. And then when he got here, we were hustling out together, and he was like, I just, if I'm going to be here with you and like all this stuff, maybe I should be your partner.
Yeah.
So that, like I said, I was like, oh yeah, I guess we could do that. Like I didn't know any better. I was just starting like an actual business. Like I had merch buttons, but that was a business. But like this, I wanted to grow and I wanted to be a big shop. So I was like, yeah, this needs to happen.
Okay.
And then after like that first year or two, and I bought this new building that I own the building we're in. I started to realize like partnership is not gonna fly. Like,
No.
and it wasn't like a money thing. It wasn't anything like that. It was just I felt that I was putting my heart and soul into everything that was happening here, and I feel like he was just another employee. Like
Right. Right.
he
Right.
showed
Right.
up and he left, and he was getting the same things I was getting, and the same perks and this and this, and it was just like, this is not gonna happen. And like I feel like that was my biggest mistake in business for sure, was starting as a partnership.
But like I mean, but you can also, so it was a huge mistake, but also, do you think you would have made the initial step without him?
Yeah,
Without that,
I was doing
so
it either way.
so it was gonna, yeah. So
It was gonna happen. Like, but my biggest fear when I came home is like, yeah, I'm gonna start this company, and I know how to do the sales, but like, I don't know shit about printing.
yeah,
Like, I mean, I know the gist, I know everything about printing, but obviously, you printers know like there's a lot more to it than just like what you find online. It's
yeah.
like, the feel and pressures and this, and it's, I was like, oh shit, I'm gonna do sales half the day and I'm gonna print half the day, and like, I was like, if I can get out of that, that's cool with me. So
When did
that's why I
you?
kind of went into the partnership thing.
That makes sense. When did you actually dissolve that partnership? Did you get out of it early on, or did it go on for?
Pretty early. I mean, we were still in a manual shop at the time.
Okay.
So luckily, we didn't have a ton. Like we definitely were like a growing company, but like I didn't have like a ton of assets to be like, well, he just made out like crazy because I
Right.
have to buy him out and all this other stuff.
Right.
So I got fortunate that way that we kind of ended it somewhat early, but
Right.
it was definitely like a couple years in though. Like it was like maybe 3 years in.
Okay. Damn. But do you, is that that was the biggest hiccup that you had early on for sure? That was the big, like.
Was the partnership? Oh, and back to what I was saying. I mean, for new companies, it's kind of like I see shops too that have like people that have like rich families and stuff that are like, oh, I want to start a screen printing shop, and then they go buy like the best manual or the best auto and like all that stuff, and they have no base, like they have no sales background, no nothing. They're just like, they got a big order from a school and they're like, oh, I gotta buy an auto. Like
Yeah.
I can't print this by hand. Like I gotta buy an auto. Like we had 3, maybe 4 manuals and 2 dryers before we switched to being auto.
Yeah,
Like
you're singing the praise. Yeah, you're singing kind
yeah,
of like my song as well, I think.
yeah. Like I did everything possible before it was like, holy shit, we need an auto. Like I wasn't just like, oh, my arms hurt, I need an auto.
You're
It was
right.
like, there's no possible way we can do anything with this company. Like we're working literally 8 in the morning till 9:30, 10 o'clock at night every night with like 4 or 5 guys printing on 3 or 4 manuals. Like it's not gonna go any further until we get an auto.
Now, hindsight is 2020. You were very wise in holding out, and making big purchases. But when you look back on it, do you think you could have automated sooner? Do you think you did it the right way?
No, I think we did it at just the right time, because the truth of it is, by the time you buy the auto and you buy, the chiller and the air compressor, and this building didn't have 3-phase in it, so we had to put 3-phase in, and then you end up with this bill
Yeah.
that you're like, holy shit, like I owe basically like $90,000 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
You have to pay that every month, like, and the bill is anywhere from $1,500 to $2,000 a month.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, that's cool. In your mind, you're like, yeah, that's awesome in the summertime. And then when winter hits, you're like, why did I do this? Like,
Yeah.
I have no money. Like, you're scraping together things, and like you're taking any job you can just to like make enough to pay that bill.
Yeah.
And it's like, if I did that earlier, I wouldn't have been able to pay that bill. Like, I
Yeah.
would have been borrowing from people.
It does seem like the shops that tend to go under are always the ones that are usually running 1 to 2 automatics.
Yeah.
And it almost always seems like they got them too early.
Yeah, and that's like I said, you really need to just go until the point where you're like, I can't do this anymore.
Okay.
And, or I mean, unless you have money, like there's
Yeah.
people with money that are just like, oh, I've saved for 15 years and I have the money to do this.
Right.
And that's what I learned after I got the first auto. Like I made all the payments, I made it happen. Like it worked out, but we've had multiple auto things since then, and we have new equipment all the time. Every year, I basically try to buy like almost, I don't know, 50 to 100 grand in equipment. Mainly it's for taxes, but it's, obviously we're growing and we're trying to do the next best thing as far as like quality and stuff. But
Yeah.
I've learned that basically throughout the year, save as much as you can and then put like a ton of cash, if not buy the equipment right out.
Okay.
With that, don't go like every time and be like, I'm gonna get a loan and then you have that payment, because you never know what's gonna happen. Like you never know, like I said, basically from November to February, like you don't know how that's gonna go.
Yeah.
But you still have to make those payments.
So if you're just starting out, thank you, bro. By the way, that's brilliant. If you are going to start, you got to get clients.
Yeah.
And I mean, I can hear it. You have the background to go out. You're probably not even afraid to go knock on some doors if you have to, huh? And start
Yeah.
pitching. But what is that a mentality that any business, you need to have that kind of mentality that you're gonna have to go out and find them?
Yeah, I think that's part of it. I mean, I've never cold called or anything. It's always been. I mean, I've obviously done like emails, but I just don't do the phone thing.
Okay.
But like I said, I feel like if you pick a niche and you're like, all right, this is what we're gonna do. Like Chris, who's been with me since the beginning, he's one of my best friends. Basically, he started doing this early on. Was we were just thinking of things. We're like, all right, like, what can we get into? And then you're not just in one niche either. You're like, now we're in like tons, but it's just like, let's figure out what we know and like how to target them, and then let's just hit it hard.
Okay.
So like early on, he would just think of stuff and he'd be like, what season is it? And then he'd be like, oh, it's like roller derby season.
Okay.
So we'd be like, all right, let's find every possible contact info we can for any roller derby team, and let's put together like a print special or something for roller derby teams. And then we just hit up every single one of them. Like, yeah, you might hit up like 1,000 teams,
Yeah.
and hear back from like, 80 to 100 or something.
Do you hit
But
them
those
up?
80 to 100 are like paying customers that come back and refer other people.
Do you hit them up via email? Do you hit them up on
Yeah.
Instagram or okay?
Email, Instagram, all that stuff. I mean, back then there wasn't Instagram, so
Yeah, okay.
it was MySpace or email. But mainly it's email. I mean, everybody has email as long as you get the correct info.
Yeah.
It's basically, and it's not always like pandering to people either and being like, oh, do you need shirts? It's like, hey, like, with Instagram, it's easy because it's like, hey, I saw, you've got to interact with people. You don't just like follow them and immediately be like, hey, do you guys want some shirts? I sell shirts. It's like, it's like interact for a while. Like, you're not trying to be a sleazy salesman. That's what I mean with us. It's like comic shops and all that stuff. Like, that's what we're into. Like, our shop is covered in like comic book stuff and movie stuff and all that stuff. And we work with those people because we know that niche. Like, we know all about that stuff. So like, I'll follow companies that I'm just stoked to see what they're putting out. And then eventually they post something like, oh, I would love to put this design on a shirt. And then it's like, oh shit, like that's my in.
Yeah.
Like, you immediately like DM them or something. And you're like, hey dude, I love your stuff. Like, they've probably seen you comment on stuff before. And you're just like, hey, I own the shop and like I would do justice to whatever it is that you had. And they're like, hell yeah, let's do it.
You're playing that long game, dude.
Yeah. I mean, you have to. Like I said, I don't know, like basically me, Chris, and other people that are in the office, like we haven't fished for a sale, like emailed and like hunted for a sale in probably like 6 years.
Wow.
Like it's basically every single day the struggle is walking into an inbox that's got like 100 emails in it.
Yeah.
That's like people that want to reorder, or people that are like, hey, I heard about you from so and so, or just constant new stuff that came to the website or found us on Instagram. And it's like, that's our entire day, is just answering questions and setting up invoices and then doing it all over again the next day. So like, that's why I said, if you do awesome work and put out really cool stuff, it just keeps coming back tenfold. It's like, don't just be that guy that's just trying to get as much stuff out a day. It's just not going to work.
Dude, that's great. That's like some of the best advice, bro, right there. I think it doesn't get any better than that. What are we already talked about it. The big one that you did wrong was just the partner thing. Is there anything else that that is just kind of like a red flag that you need to avoid early on? Don't automate too soon. No
Don't get
partnerships.
debt is for sure the biggest one.
The debt, just stay out of debt.
I mean, like I said, me myself, I'm more like the business sales kind of thing. So like I look at that a lot, like, and I mean, it stresses you. It makes you sweat. Like multiple times I felt like, oh, I'm dying. Like I'm having a heart attack right now because like just stuff happens and you're like, I don't know how we're gonna pay for this. But I mean, it always works out. Like we're never like that low, but it's like, stuff happens and you sweat it. But I mean, that's the biggest thing is making sure you have funding you can pay your employees. And just money thing is important. Like you don't want to think about business sometimes, but realistically, that's what keeps you going. So it's like, just don't bury yourself in debt. Like, that's the scariest thing to me. Like, pay cash for as much as possible and make friends. Like you were saying before when we first started this thing is like people that don't want to share. Like shop stuff. I feel like that's the dumbest thing.
Right.
Like Instagram for me, like I think I follow like 1,500 people on Instagram. I guarantee 99% of them are other shops.
Yeah, you do. I've looked at your followings and stuff. Yeah,
and we all talk to each other. Like I talk to shops all day long on Instagram, and it's like we're always like exchanging stuff. Or I'll just be like, oh yeah, like I'll post something, and people will be like, oh yeah, I actually found out how to like make this better. And it's just like I've grown so much as like a person and like my shop just from advice from other people.
Nice.
And like so many shops have grown from me. Like they'd be like, hey, I see you have a workhorse and an M&R. Like, what do you think's better? And I'm just like, dude, like I just straight up with them. I'm like, this is great and this one's way better and whatever. Like this is what I've learned. Like it's just you have to share. Like I went to a conference last year, the ThreadX one, and basically the whole thing was about branding and all this other stuff. And I feel like that was the biggest thing I learned is like just share and grow. And people that are closed-minded about their shops die out because they don't learn anything new. They're just like that. Everybody knows that sports printer. I always say sports printer. I'm not bashing sports printer. It's just in my mind, it's like this dude that does nothing but the school.
Yeah, and he does. He's always the one doing the bulletproof prints.
Yeah, he's always like 85 years old.
Right.
And then like whatever. But it's like that person dies out because they're not learning anything new. They're not discharge underbasing anything. They're not, they're using nothing but Gilligan 5000, like, or the cheapest shirt possible. It's like, dude, use newer inks, like find new things. And it's like the only way you're going to do that is by going to trade shows and talking to other printers and going to, just learning all the time, like YouTube, like stuff on YouTube that you're just like you might not be like, oh, I learned everything from Cam on like what he did, but you might be something stupid that you just like didn't even realize you were teaching somebody. But in the background they saw and they were just like, holy shit, like why am I not doing that?
Yeah, it almost seems like you can have like a whole conversation with us, but the person that's listening will find one nugget from this that could potentially change everything for them.
Yeah.
So that's all that you have to do is be open to obtaining one nugget from something like this. But us as printers, and it does seem like it's almost a responsibility to share it to some degree or another. So
yeah, well, like think about it this way too. Like if we all help each other and we all have awesome customer service and we're all dealing with customers like within our region or whatever, like we do a lot of national and international, but it's like there's more than enough work to go around. But there's those huge like custom ink and like these other like Amazons and stuff that they don't have that personal touch. Like you're literally just ordering whatever crap online. And it's always some like clip art website where you just put a bunch of shit together. And it's like that person's not stoked on the product. They're just stoked they got their shirts in 3 days.
That's right. Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? They're not like an artist that's like, I need shirts done. I'm going to go to Custom Ink and get these done with some clip art. It's like, no, they want to go to a shop like us. It's like walks them through everything, shows them the best inks and techniques to use that they didn't think of. So if we grow as like a community, like all these shops and make things better, it's going to make so many more people open their eyes to like cool print shops than to just like turning on the radio and hearing custom ink ads over and over again.
Yeah, and I can literally speak to this, and I can speak to the effects of falling off of that. In the early days of my shop, that was my whole game. Every single person came in and they got the personal touch. I walked them through the whole process. When I made the mistake of trying to almost become like an internet kind of thing, you know? I kind of went down that road of trying to just be
Well,
an
everybody
internet
does
company.
that. Everybody tries it.
It
Like
just
we did that for a little while. We
It
did
is.
the
It's a
online designer.
nightmare. Yeah, it doesn't work. The online
Yeah.
designer, it has a place, but it's not really useful. But the real loss and what you're really giving up in your business is that personal touch. And
Yeah.
I think you're right, man. We have to. The industry is going to be about that service.
Yeah, it has to be.
Yeah.
And like I'm not bashing the online designer because it definitely has its place,
It's got
but
its place.
that's the niche that you're going for. Like you're going for like the birthday parties and reunions and all that stuff because they don't know anything about art. They just want shirts that say like, John's house or
Right.
something stupid. And it's like, all right, cool, there's a place for that. But like if you want like, a cool soft shirt with a vintage print on it or your brewery or whatever, it's like we got you. Like we know how to market those people.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. It seems like you guys really have it down, man, and I appreciate you sharing all this stuff.
Yeah.
What is something? See, I have a lot of this shit, and as I'm reading the questions, I'm like, this is redundant, but I'm gonna ask it anyway. Maybe there's a different
that's
answer.
fine.
What's something that you did face early on that you've managed to overcome now? Real cheesy question, but let's do it. Or you can always pass, homie.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I feel like every single day where there's a hurdle for sure, like we're learning new things and like we just recently switched everything to like direct to screen and all that stuff and like there's a lot of things that come with that where it's definitely awesome, but there's a lot of things where it's a learning curve.
Yeah.
So I feel like everything is just kind of like you need to understand that basically when you go with any new equipment or anything, there's going to be a while of learning curves.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's always been our thing is like every year we try to introduce something else.
Okay.
And there's always new inks coming out and everything. So it's like just stay on top of it and try to learn it. I mean, we've tried things like, we were like, at one point we were like, we want to try to do as much like water-based and discharge as we can because we like the feel.
Yeah.
But then we started to learn of like, dude, like, yeah, it's cool, but like it dries in the screen a lot. And, you mess up like 10 shirts every time it goes around. You find out you have a pinhole with discharge. And it's like,
yeah,
there's a lot of things that like, yeah, it's doable and you can do it and it's awesome. And it is awesome. It's just, there's things you need some shops, and I even have my employees that do this, that are like, in their eyes, they would do nothing but like white shirts with black ink all day.
Sure.
And it's like,
they would prefer
I need to be like, no, dude, like we need to like take the next step and like, maybe let's stay late today and figure this out. Like,
Right.
Let's try this new ink or let's try this new emulsion or whatever. And like, take the time to learn it. And I feel like that's the biggest thing is you need to just like, buckle down and learn shit. You can't just be like, I'm cool with plastisol. Like, I'm not going to add anything to it. I'm just going to mix them together and I'm fine.
Yeah, and I think
Like,
you guys have the right approach. Just like you said, you did plastisol, but you wanted to see if water-based was the right thing for you. You didn't just brush it off and say we are or are not. You decided.
We still do both.
But you decided like what level of it was worth it to you guys. So you're constantly testing and experimenting is what you're doing.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, and like I said,
that.
you find a certain way that you like it and you stick to it. And then when the next best thing comes along, you try it and you weigh the options of like, is this actually better or is this just a marketing thing?
Yeah.
So I feel like I said, water-based is awesome. We like it a lot. We use it all the time. It's just, it's not right for every job. Like,
Gotcha.
and discharge and plastisol isn't right for every job. It's just, you really need to see what's best for the customer, realistically.
Yeah, I love that, man. So why is business so tough, and why is it that one shop will make it and then the one right next to them will fail in a grand fashion? What is it about this business or business in general?
I feel like the person who runs it just needs to like love it. Like there's people that I know that like are like, oh, I want to start a business. I want to sell soap, and it's like they just saw somebody else doing it and now they're like, I want to do this, but they have no drive. I was like, well, what'd you do last night? Well, I just I played Red Dead for like 10 hours. It's like,
right,
cool. Well, I was on my answering emails for the last like 15 hours because I want to make sure I'm not going to have to bang my head off my desk the next day. Like,
right.
And you're not doing it just because it's like homework. You're doing it like, I do it because I love it and I just want to make sure all my customers are happy. I want to make sure that my shop's running smoothly. And like, I just love this industry. Like I never knew when I first started, I was going to be a screen printer. Like I said, I was just in a band and shit happened and it fell in my lap and whatever. But like, I love it. Like I'm all about it. And I feel like you have to, if you're a business owner, you have to really love what you're doing. You can't just be like, yeah, I'm all about that money.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Let's
Dude, it's not all about the money at all.
let's talk about the job handover dread. So do you, I mean, are you probably like most of us printers? You're just on the quest to confidently hand over every job and be 100% proud of it, right? That's
Yeah,
that is your shop's goal. How close
basically.
are you guys to that? To where you're handing over 100%? Are you guys getting there? How far do you
Like
got to
every
go?
job is
Yeah, I mean,
satisfactory for the most part.
or above that. Like every job, you're like hell to the yeah as you hand them over the box, and you know.
Yeah, I feel like it doesn't tend to leave the shop unless it is. Like, I mean, I'm a lot of time at my desk, but I go out, I take pictures for Instagram and stuff. But I'm always looking at jobs, and the people that actually work here, most of us have been here since the beginning. So like, we see a job and we're just like, dude, that's not right. Like, there's a little bit of white poking out there, or there's a pinhole, and it's
Yeah.
like, nope, well, let's make it right. Like yesterday, we had the same problem. Like we had an issue with screens. We're going through and trying a couple different emulsions right now because when we got the CTS, it's just like we're having issues with emulsions. So we
Okay.
tried a new emulsion, and we actually had an old screen, and we had to print an oversized job, and it was like we used an older screen and we thought it was okay, and we printed the job, and like the dude who was pulling shirts off didn't realize it, but there was like a ton of super tiny pinholes
Oh yeah.
like all the way around the design, and like they didn't notice them until we were folding them out. And
Oh no.
I was just like without hesitation, I was just like, all right, cool, well, put that back on the schedule for tomorrow. I'll reorder the shirts right now and we'll do the whole
So
job tomorrow.
so that's
Like,
that's you. You
yeah,
wouldn't
like,
even consider handing that off.
no, there's no way,
Good for
way,
you.
because
Yeah.
it's way more damaging. Like, you might look at it and be like, oh shit, I gotta order all those shirts again,
Right.
but it's way cheaper to reorder the shirts and do them again tomorrow than it is to send the customer the shirts and be like, I hope they think it's okay.
Right.
And then they might not even get back to you. They might, like, you might think everything is cool, but really they bashed you to hell and back,
Yeah.
like talking to people and be like, I'm never going there again. There's fucking white holes everywhere. Like,
Right. That was my
you know,
experience early on. Even if they didn't get back, even if they didn't tell you that you messed it
yeah,
up, it didn't. They noticed it,
you got to
and
think
you
about it
lose
this
them.
way. Like, everybody wants to share bad news. Like,
Yeah.
so you might get, like I said, they might get shirts, they might come out good, and they're just like, they expected them to be good because they ordered shirts and you did your job. But as soon as they get a job that's bad, that's their talking point for the next week of
Ye-
like, oh, hey, I spent $1,000 on all these shirts and they were all terrible. Like,
Yeah.
they'll tell people in like the checkout line, like, oh, I see a shirt. Oh, I just ordered shirts and they all sucked. Like,
Right.
you know what I mean? Like,
They're
it's
looking for
way
someone to
worse.
tell. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's way worse to send out a job. So it's like, just eat it.
Gotcha.
I think it was like 100 shirts we did yesterday, and it was like half of them were long sleeves, and it was like, yeah, it was probably a couple $100 to replace, but like, I would much rather, even if the customer comes back to you and they're like, hey, I got these shirts, they're cool, but like, there's a bunch of white holes in it.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, well, let me give you a shipping label, send them back, and then you end up paying a ton in shipping to get them back, and then you have to reprint it anyway.
That's
It's
right.
like, why not just skip that whole step and just redo it in the first place?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think so you're able to speak on this stuff because you've done all of these things. You're not
Yeah,
so the point is with this information as I'm taking it in is like all printers go through these kind of things, right? Where
yeah,
you've obviously sent something out to a client thinking that you might be able to hide it, and then you've had to pay to ship back. So you said to yourself, I'm not going to do that again. And part of the ways
yeah,
that you avoid it is you work late hours, you keep an eye on the jobs, you have more attention to detail to try to
yeah.
prevent these
I feel like
things.
everybody does that stuff. I mean,
Yeah,
it's not like every shop is perfect, and
yeah,
that's the thing with us on Instagram that I feel like a lot of people like us for is like, we do a lot of raw.
right.
Like, they're not curated photos, they're not whatever. It's just like, I'm just literally walking around the shop taking pictures of shit,
Yeah,
and then like I post them, and it's like some people are like, oh, why is this not this way? And it's like, well, it works for us.
right,
Like,
right.
that's how we do it. And like I said, I'm not that guy who's just gonna send stuff out and like hope and pray that like it works out. Like, it keeps me up at night. Like, I think about stuff like that all the time, and it's funny because like there's stuff to us that like I mean, you guys know as printers, like you'll see something and you'll be like, I know if I would have like used the roller on that white would have been a little bit smoother, and I would
Yeah,
be so much more stoked on it. And you kind of choose at you a little bit where you're like,
yep.
damn it, I should have just done that. And then the customer gets it and they give you like a 5-star review and they're like, dude, these are awesome. I love these. And it's just like, oh, cool. That's awesome.
It is
But
awesome, but
realistically, in the long run, it's like, why didn't I just roll those? Like,
Right.
why
And
don't I just do that on every job?
that's
Why
the
don't
point.
I-
You're almost on this quest to alleviate your anxiety at night for not having
and
done something.
it's selfish, but it's like,
Yeah.
dude, I just want to like have fun with my friends at shop and
Yeah.
have people love my brand, and just like, you get that when you put the time in and you buy quality equipment and quality inks.
Right.
Like, I hate the fact that so many people are like, they're price hunting everything. They're like,
Yeah, the
oh, I
ink
can get this
stuff.
for so much cheaper. Or like, so many people are like, oh, I bought this piece of equipment that I'm going to super modify to get to work right. And it's like, yeah, it sucks to spend a little extra money and get the right thing the first time, but it's like, dude, it's so much easier on your mind. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like it's that meme of like that super old dude that's just like, yeah, I remember, working a 20-hour day, and it's like, I'm 26, and it's
Yeah.
like, that's how you feel if you're just constantly like trying to do everything at like the lowest cost and the lowest everything. It's like, just
Yeah.
do it right the
Ye-
first time.
Yeah, I think that's great advice because I'm transitioning into that now, and it was because I was a broke dick bootstrapper from the beginning too, and yeah, you even there's even quality step ups just by getting the right thing for the job as opposed to kind of like hacking it
Yeah,
together. What do
and
you
like I said,
go ahead?
it's definitely worth it.
Well, I was gonna ask you, and I always hesitate endorsing products here. I got shit on the last one because we had the Matsui rep, so apparently it
Yeah.
was a Matsui fucking commercial. But do you you and your guys, do you have particular brands that you just prefer through experience, and are you cool with sharing any of those brands? Or
Yeah, sure. I mean, we've used a ton of different things. Some of you might know, like, we mostly have M&R stuff. I personally love M&R stuff because we had that Sportsman was the first auto we had, and
Mhm.
it's a fucking tank.
Yeah.
Like, dude, the thing, and I hate saying this because every time I tell somebody this, I feel like it's gonna break down the next day. But like, we have never had an issue with that Sportsman. Like, never a tiny hiccup, never like a service call, nothing. Like, I've never broken anything on it, and like, it's just built awesome. That Sprint dryer we have is older than I am. It's
Yeah.
like, it's super old. And like last year, like, I didn't have to do it, but I went like fully through the whole thing, replaced like every electronic component in it, because I was just scared of like any day now some stupid little part's going to break, and then we're going to be down in busy season. So I was just like, all right, at the time, like, I'm just going to go through and replace. And M&R has all the parts on shelf.
Yeah.
So it's just like, I just ordered them all, put them all in. Now it's basically a brand new dryer, but it's like 30 years old. Like,
Makes
stuff like
sense.
that to me is totally worth it. And like, we have that Workhorse too. And Workhorse, and I'm going to straight up say this, like, Workhorse has the best customer service
Dude.
I've ever ran into. Like, you get them on the phone, they're like, oh, I'm sorry about that, let me help you with that. And it's always a guy, and it's like, they overnight parts to you. And like, I don't think I paid for any parts on that press.
No shit.
Like, I'd be like, oh, the tablet broke. They're like, all right, cool. Well, here's the new wiring. Here's a new tablet.
But
Like, set it up.
But there are some interesting differences in like you said, the Sportsman never seems to go down, whereas the Workhorse
Right. The
will have
Workhorse,
hiccups.
like I said, I love Workhorse, and I love M&R.
Yeah.
But like, Workhorse is definitely the one we bought. The Saber is basically, and I don't mind telling people because it's the truth. Like, I'm not gonna sugarcoat shit, but like,
Sure.
they basically tried to make the Sportsman.
Yeah.
And they made it with cheaper parts so they could sell it for cheaper. And I mean, like I said, it's a good press. Like, not bashing it at all. We use it every single day. It's being used right now out in the shop. Like, the guys are still out there printing.
Yeah.
And like, it works. It gets everything done. But like, it's had stuff break. Like,
Yeah. But it's
like
also
air
substantially
and-
cheaper than the
Yeah, I mean,
the
it is, but it
Sportsman,
isn't.
right?
Like I said, you got to think about
Good
it too.
point.
Like, say something breaks on that, and you're down for like 4 or 5 days. Like, how much money did you really save when there's like 50 orders that aren't going out now because
Right.
you decided to go with a cheaper press, and you got to compound that over like the life of your press
Right.
and stuff like that. Like I said, I feel like go a little bit extra and buy the quality, and
Sure.
it's worth it. Like I said, Workhorse is awesome. Like, I have no complaints.
Okay.
It's just, I have both presses. Like, basically, when I bought the M&R, it was like, all right, this is my forever press. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think we're ever going to get bigger than this. And then it was like 2 years later, we were like, fuck, we're working till 9 o'clock at night every night again.
All right.
And it was like, we need to buy another press. And I was like, all right, well, I have enough money to buy this press. Let's just buy this press, and it'll just kind of like take the extra workload off. And then it was like, as soon as we got it, we had like more than enough work for 2 presses to
Yeah.
run all day long.
That's crazy.
So it was like I should have just bought another Sportsman.
Yeah.
But realistically,
well,
I was like,
maybe your Sportsman was just like built on a Wednesday, and maybe
Yeah.
maybe the workhorse was just built on a Monday.
Yeah.
Maybe
like
you got to
it's
get a
great
workhorse.
press.
Maybe you got to get a workhorse that was also built on a Wednesday.
My thing is if you have both and you see the differences between each one every day,
Yeah.
you're kind of like, obviously you're looking at the other one of like, fuck.
Yeah, right. This son of a bitch. Makes sense, dog.
Like I said, they're both great. It's just it is what it is.
So, and we'll wrap this up too, because we also got a Q&A, dude, and we've been crushing time here. I hope you're doing all right on that.
Yeah, no problem.
Where do you want to take your business, and like what are some things that are kind of stopping you right now from getting to where you want to end up? And of course, don't feel obligated to share anything, but
I feel really comfortable with our company right now. I feel like if I could do what we're doing right now until I'm like old and die,
yeah,
I'm fine with that. Like,
cool.
I don't want to be one of those guys, and so many shops do it where they just like constantly are like, I gotta grow, and it's like, we don't do a lot of contract printing. Like, the only reason why we do any contract printing is because there's a lot of shops in our area that say they do screen printing and then they just send it to us and we print it for them. A lot of them are just like people I know that I'm like, yeah, cool, let's do it, let's throw it on press. But like, I don't want to be a contract shop that's like doing stuff for pennies. I don't want to buy like 35 autos.
Right.
And it's just more headache for you as a person. Like, you're not having a fun shop with people you want to hang out with at that point. You're like a boss that has like a ton of 55-year-old women with 35 kids.
And you're only stressed about the bottom line.
I visited shops like that where they have like 30 autos and like half of them aren't running because they're just like, we don't have the work right now. And it's like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to do that. So my next goal, and we're probably going to do it this year, is to buy a 14 color M&R, because
another Sportsman probably.
Probably the bigger Sportsman, like the EXG.
Yeah.
Because we do a lot of process prints and we're doing a lot of really cool work with 6 colors. But I want those, you know what I mean? Like, you do stuff and you're like, it's a person's face and you're like, yeah, I can get away with this. But I want, in my mind, I'm like, dude, I know we could add like 4 more colors to this and it would be so much cooler.
Yeah, like if you could have a few more gradations in that skin tone.
Yeah, like that's
something.
my whole goal at this point, is like, if I keep my, my 810 Sportsman and then I have that 14 color Sportsman, like, I'm set. Like, I don't want to buy anything else. Like, maybe we'll dive into like, more embroidery or something like that. But like, I mainly want to stick with those 2 presses. Then I could pick and choose work too. Like, we do a ton of really cool stuff, but we also do a ton of stuff that's just like, oh, like, this is just like, like a 1 color left chest, 1 color back.
Yeah.
Like, they're cool to do, but it's just like,
we have so much of that shit.
Customers,
yeah.
Then I would just be like, yep, like, we're full right now. Like, we can't take your orders because we're just doing a bunch of super awesome shit.
Right. That's I understand your pain there. It's like, cool, it pays the bills and stuff, but it's not inspiring work.
Right. But think about if you were at the point where you could say, no, I've got more than enough like awesome bands and awesome companies that you're working for, that you're happy. Like, everybody has a paycheck. I have my house and my kids and I'm doing what I'm doing. Like, do I need more? Like, do I need more headaches? Do I need to have a huge building and a ton of shop and stuff? It's like, no, I'm just stoked to be like, oh, we can take Wednesday off because we finished everything and just go on a long motorcycle ride. Like,
fuck yeah, dude. Yeah, I was going to ask you that on your Instagram. Is that do you have is it just a roller frame Harley with an Evo in it, but it looked like it had the spring? It almost looked like it had like a knuckle springer on the front and all this and that.
Yeah, I have a shovel. It's a Springer. It's a hardtail.
Is it a real frame? It's the real Harley frame?
Hardtail,
no shit, man. That's awesome.
Yeah. So almost all of us ride here.
Cool.
So that's how it's nice in the summer, is it's just nothing but bikes out front.
Do you ride well or do you ride poorly? Because I ride, but I ride poorly.
I'd like to say I ride well, but it's one of those things, like, I don't like using turn signals.
Okay.
So the people behind me always get pissed.
Yeah, and they probably always hit you.
Finally use my turning signal and I don't shut it off.
Yeah.
For like 50 miles.
You know the 2019s, bro, the damn thing, the 2019s, when you hit the signal, once you make the turn and turn out of it, it shuts itself off.
Oh my God, I need that.
It's crazy. I couldn't believe it when it happened. I was like, what?
You have to push it in.
Yeah.
Well, the Harley doesn't have turning signals. That's more just like,
it's a cruiser.
If you're following me. But the I have a Honda Phantom that is my grocery getter. Like, it's got fuel injected. All you gotta do is hit the button. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, I don't feel like kicking for half an hour. I'll ride that one.
Right.
And you got to push the button to shut the turns off.
That's
and
what
I'm always getting yelled at by the guys of like, I didn't know where you were going because you're always turning left.
Oh yeah, that's how the 2019 is all push start. It's crazy. It's smooth as silk.
Yeah, I saw your bike. It looks super nice.
It's tight,
That
dude.
seat choice was better.
Yeah, it's much more better because it's not threatening to dump you off the back. Do you follow? There's this cat. I was following him before he got into screen printing because he's like a stunt rider. His name's Lee Stewart. And
I talk to him all the time.
He's good on them bikes, bro.
Yeah,
your boy is good on them bikes.
All the time.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah,
Lee's a good dude.
Yeah, he's cool. Let's get this thing done out of the way so we can get to the Q&A and get you out of here.
Yeah.
I feel like we nailed it, man. You gave a bunch of really good information on this thing, and then the Q&A we'll probably get some more from you.
Yep.
I guess I do want one more thing. So, when you as a business owner this is going to be my last question. When you as a business owner are in a situation where you're kind of like stuck and you're not sure what to do next to get you to the next stage in your business, what do you do to figure that kind of thing out? Do you have a team of people? Do you fucking meditate on it? Do you go for a bike ride? How do you get the answers you need to make a business decision?
I don't want to sound corny and say I asked my team, but like basically everybody who's here, I just ask their, what they really think. Like technically me as a boss, I should be like, no, like my answer is always the correct answer. But like realistically, I ask everybody, like, what do you guys feel like we should do? Or like, where do you see this company going? Or like I said, I'll talk to other shops. Like there's a lot of shops that I'm super friends with that are just like, yeah, this is, I tried this. Like I tried this market and it sucks.
Right.
Or like, for a while I was like, oh, maybe I should do like stores and DTG and like, on-demand stuff. And I was like thinking about that for a while. And I went to, Long Beach and was looking at stuff. And then it was like, I talked to a couple shops that have it and like the horror stories of just like certain things. And I was just like, no, dude, like I think what we should really do is focus on just being a really awesome screen printer and not like being like, we do screen printing, direct to garment and embroidery and signs and banners and business cards. It's like, just be really awesome at one thing.
Yeah,
like
hell yeah.
being known for like kick-ass screen printing or be known for awesome embroidery. I feel like if you just stick to those, what you're really good at, then like me and my dad were actually talking about this yesterday. There's like a car shop in our town that now sells like grills and boats and like I feel like
those go so well together.
Stuff. It's like, dude, how is that guy good at all of that? He's not. He's just filling it with stuff so he can be like, I'm a business owner. Yeah. And it's like, no, dude, like you're just trying to sell stuff to pay the bills. Like,
right.
You should just like be like, I'm a car guy. I sell cars, and just do whatever you can to keep doing that. Like, just be really good at selling cars, not like, I can sell you this car, but I can also sell you this sweet grill. It's like, why?
I love it, man. And then do you okay, guys, first off, we're about to start the Q&A, so start submitting your questions in the chat. I'm going to ask him one more question. Start hitting me with all your goddamn questions. Now's your opportunity. So start asking. So, my question for you, do you have any – this is kind of fucking weird, man, because we've already been talking about it. Do you have any predictions for the industry, where it's going to go, where you think it will end up? This is a fucking weird question. I don't even know why I have this in there, but let's run with it.
Yes and no. Like I said, I feel like I talked to a bunch of big people in the industry at shows and stuff about this, and I feel like most of them say it because they're the people making them and they want to sell them. Is just everybody's like, everything's going digital, and it's like, I don't feel like that's the case. Like I know like M&R is making a digital squeegee, and Rhino's trying to sell the next best thing that's all digital, and I feel like, yeah, that's cool, and like it's probably going to take years and years for that to be like the new norm. But screen printing's been around forever. Like, I don't think it's going away. I think people want to just crank stuff out way faster.
Yeah.
But like I said, I feel like if you find your niche and like you just do really good work for them, they're okay with a longer turnaround because they know it's going to be awesome. Like I mean, there's probably a ton of people that are like, "Oh, direct garment's awesome," and I love the quality. But it's like, if I look personally, if I look at a DTG shirt and then I look at a screen print shirt, I'm like, yeah, there's a big difference here. Like,
Yeah, man.
I like this one way way more, and it's
Right.
like, I feel like it's gonna go that way. Like, a lot of the shops are gonna be digital, and then like there's gonna be the Amazon and all this. Like, Amazon merch is already like super going crazy with
Yeah,
like
they are. Yeah.
how it's going to happen. It's funny because I went to ThreadX last year, not this last one, but the one before,
Huh.
and I was sitting like eating lunch like with this dude, and he was like all black suit and stuff. He was a cool guy, but he ended up telling me, he's like, "You see my name tag?" And it like said some like shop you work for. He's like, "I actually work at Amazon. I just didn't want to put Amazon on my name tag because I didn't want to get like stabbed." And it was like,
Yeah.
yeah, dude, like I get it. Like, a lot of people are terrified that like you're gonna just run everybody into the ground, and it's like,
But I think the conversations that we were having earlier as well are good. They are going to be the difference and the ability
yeah,
to
exactly. It's the
give the
customer service
service.
that's the biggest thing.
Love
Like,
it.
I feel like any shop that's listening or whatever, like I feel like that should be what you work on. Is just be like, I'm just gonna have the best customer service I can do, and then I promise you, work will just come. Like, just treat every customer awesome and go the extra mile for them. I promise you, they're gonna tell the important people who to go to next.
Perfect. Um, when what is this shit? Okay, I'm gonna ask you this. It's some of these things you can just give your opinion on it because I know
Yeah,
you're not really a clothing brand guy, but this is from Jay Roddy. He's asking, when starting a
dude,
brand,
awesome name, first of all.
Jay
Great
Roddy,
band.
when starting a brand, how many different shirts designs is good for a lookbook for an initial collection launch?
I think maybe like four. I
Beautiful.
feel like I feel like it's good enough to test the waters. I feel like there's so many clothing lines that are like, I've got 35 designs and I want to do 12 of each. It's like, that's enough for your mom and your grandma to buy, and then you don't have any mediums left. Like, focus your money on like, those 3 or 4 designs and do good designs. Like, take the time into your artwork and then see what sells. Like, you would be like, oh, this design's terrible, it didn't sell, and then you didn't break the bank because you didn't buy like 100 of each. You just bought like 50 to 100 of 4 designs, and saw what worked and what didn't.
Love it, man. Dude, it's fuck. Looking for questions here. Shops are starting to build back their workforce for June. God damn it. Okay, anyone have any? So this is from Joseph King. Anyone have any pointers of type of vinyl for screen printing? I've been using Oracle 651. I'm looking for something with better adhesive. Do you have any familiarity with vinyl at all?
We do some vinyl, but mainly it's for like names and numbers.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure we use, oh shit, what's it called? It's just like the standard soft t-shirt vinyl from Stalls.
Okay.
Like,
Yeah,
we
Stahl's
don't
vinyl.
we don't do a lot of vinyl to where it's like, yeah, this is your design, hope you like it. It's more just like, we have local teams and schools and stuff that we still work for, and they're just like, they need names and numbers, and like, I'd rather cut them here, or like, like somebody will come in and it's somebody and they're like, I need 4 shirts for a birthday party. It's
Yeah.
like, all right, we'll do it in vinyl.
Just
Like,
cut it in vinyl. It makes sense.
yeah. Well,
Jason
we don't.
Jason's wanting to know what band. Are you in a band right now?
No, I
Okay.
haven't been in a band in years, but it was a hardcore band back in the day.
Oh, so what was it called?
It was MBF is what it was called.
MBF. It was a hardcore band, not a punk
Yep.
band. Okay.
Mhm.
Let's see what we got. Well, we're getting a lot of raving reviews that this interview is going amazingly. So shout out to
Hey, that's
you.
good. That's cool.
Yeah, a lot of people are into it. And then someone saying that I'm pissed about that Matsui sponsor comment because I got full blown triggered, dude. They got me. Looking for questions here. Okay, Cam, can you ask him what his band was? So we got that out of the way. Sorry, man. It's fucking the questions
go
are
ahead.
just
I can't
Okay.
see any of his comments, so I have no idea what's happening.
cool. Yeah, it's just I have to fucking fuss through them, and sometimes they get buried. This is from Frank Phoenix. Phoenix with an F. Do you have issues with your team since it seems that there are all your homies as far as like having to fire someone for not pulling their weight?
Not anymore. I mean, that's like I said, that's kind of something you either win or lose at. Like I said, Chris and Brian, basically it's Chris and Brian, have been with me since the beginning. They were friends of mine that I was in the band with. That basically, when I started the company, I gave them the opportunity. Hey, do you want to work for me? Because they're the only people I knew and trusted. And there were other friends for sure along the way. Like there was like a kid that I went to high school with, and I drove to school every day, and we were friends, and we were friends for a really long time. He worked here for like 7 years, but it was always a battle. It was like he was a drama queen, and he just loved to start shit, and it was just not what I needed. And I basically, again, I talked to another shop about it, and they're like, dude, I have that same person. And it's just like, I was so scared to like let him go. And then when I let him go, I was like, holy shit, why didn't I not do this
So he can
before?
almost
'Cause it was
bring
just like,
the energy of the place
well,
down.
it's just, yeah, like, I mean, there's like, 8 or 10 people here. And it's like, if that one dude's in a bad mood,
Right.
everybody's in like, walking on eggshells all day. And it's like,
Gotcha.
why have that? Like, that's not, like, I promise you, if you have a guy that's just, or a girl or anybody in your shop that's just like a downer, it's way better to just be like, hey, I'm sorry, but this isn't working out, and get somebody who wants to just fucking party all day.
Yeah.
Like, I
Now,
promise you, the shop is going to be like today, like we grill on every Wednesday, and we were out back grilling, and it was just like, we were all just like, this is our job.
right, it's
Like,
awesome. But how do you?
we're
What
hanging out.
about what about if you have someone that's kind of a little bit of a shit, but they happen to also bust their ass? Like, is that some, or is it still like what we were talking about
That's how
earlier
it
with the
was. That's
culture?
how it was with that guy that I had. It's like he was one of our best workers.
Oh,
But
okay,
like I had to look at it as like, fuck, do I want to get stuff done, or do I want to be miserable every day I come to work?
gotcha. Okay,
And it's just like, I mean, like I said, there's a lot of people out there that are good workers and that want to work, that have good attitudes. So realistically, it's just like you have to weigh the options of like, can I afford to find somebody new and hope it works out, or do I just keep doing this every day?
awesome, bro. What? This is from Scott McClellan. What would you do if a certain niche was really saturated, but you have extensive knowledge, experience, and expertise in that niche? Like if like that niche was made for you, that kind of thing. So what would you do if it was super saturated?
No, I mean, I can tell you, like the band market, super saturated, and it's a nightmare. And that's why we don't do it as much anymore.
Uh-huh.
I mean, we still do a lot of bands, but it's like, I don't know, you just have to be better than the next guy.
Yeah.
Like, not necessarily better printing wise, but you need to be better at getting back to emails quicker. You need to be better at, using a better ink that doesn't, the next guy might not flash as white. He might be like, that's cool, that's fine. But it's
Uh-huh.
like you come out with a product where it's like white flash, roll flash,
Yeah.
whatever, another white, and it's like they're like, holy shit, I didn't know white could be this bright. Like,
Right, right.
you know what I mean? Like, that's
Yeah.
going to set you apart from the next guy. They might be like, oh, we both got Gilligan shirts. We both got white ink, but your white is way better than the other guy. And that's the quality thing. It's like,
Yeah.
you just need to do, like, I can't remember the quote, but I don't know, I have it here somewhere, but it's just like, do, like, don't focus on being like the best at everything, but just like be really good at a normal thing. Like,
Huh.
if you're the guy who's just like a mechanic, but there's like a million mechanics, but you focus on being like the best mechanic you can be,
Yeah.
like people are going to keep coming to you because you're like, this dude's awesome.
Right.
Like, I feel like that's the biggest thing. It's just,
Well, you just said something else too, though, that really, I think it rings true to me. You said reply to that if you're replying to the email faster or first. Do you
yeah.
find that if you just get there, the customers will at least give you an opportunity to prove yourself? If you,
Hell yeah.
okay,
We
that's
get so
beautiful.
many customers too that like, I might just be at my desk and I already have like 25, 30 emails in my inbox, but I get an email from somebody that's just like, hey, here's a bunch of questions I have. And I'll email them back and be like, hey, like, here's roughly what you're asking for. Here's a bunch of questions, but I honestly have like a ton of other emails to do today, but I will promise you I'll get back to you like today or first thing tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
They immediately are like, holy shit, thanks for getting back to me so fast. Like, I can look, like, I use Gmail and it says like the time that they sent the email, and then I see my time. And it's funny, sometimes when you look at it, it's literally like 1 minute later you send a
Jesus.
reply, and they're just like, oh my god, like, how did you get back to me so fast? And realistically, it's just like, if you're sitting at your desk and you have a bunch of emails, don't let them pile up. At least give them an email and say like, hey, I got your email.
Yeah.
Like, not like an auto reply, but like reply to some of the shit in their email,
Yep.
and like let them know like you care, like hey, like everybody knows everybody has their own life and shit that's happening. It's like
Yeah.
just be real with people and be like, hey, like I'm swamped right now, but like I promise you I will get back to you and I will answer your questions and I will meet your deadline. But
How do you
I
remind yourself to like because so if you fire off that first email saying, "Hey, I'm gonna quote this, but I need a little bit more time," how do you then remind yourself to go back to that goddamn email and respond to them?
I'm that guy where I cannot stand it when people have thousands of emails in their inbox.
Uh huh.
I'm that guy where email is my checklist. And like even my wife emails me because I go through my inbox every day like it's literally my check. Like my goal is to have 0 emails in my inbox every day. So like if I need to do something still, I won't put it in a folder. I'll just leave it in my inbox so I
Wow.
know it's not taken care of yet. So again, like I'll respond to a customer and then I'll star it. Like you can star stuff in Gmail and I'll
Yeah.
know like I've got to get back to this person. And then it's not taken care of or out of my inbox until it's done. Like it's
Wow.
not, it's a constant checklist for me every day. It's like my email. So when I get in the morning, I might have 75 to 100 emails. I just start at the bottom of my emails, not at the top, because if I constantly am doing like new emails that come in all day,
Yeah.
you're going to stay in that top like
Yeah, you
10,
do.
15 email thing.
Yeah.
Like you literally just need to get back to them real quick and then go back to the bottom of your email list
Okay.
and work your way to the top.
Interesting. And so do you spam filter like crazy? You've got that shit like ironed out on your inbox. You
Yeah, I'm that guy who usually is like when stuff comes in and I'm just like, this is stupid. I just unsubscribe as much as possible.
Cool. That's good, man. What else do we got here? I saw a bunch of other stuff coming through now, bro. This one's going. People are starting to chime in. How do you know this? I'm gonna ask this. I'm not sure what. I'm gonna just read it and I'll understand
Yeah.
it as I read it. Employee retention. How do you keep your employee for a decent amount of time? So you understand?
Treat them well. That's the biggest thing. Like, don't just give them a paycheck. Like I said, our guys, I don't know if any of you guys follow us on Instagram or not, but you definitely see it. Like, we have grilling Wednesdays. So, like, I feed everybody on Wednesday. Like, we grill, we sit out on the back deck, we just bullshit and talk.
Do you drink beers?
Um, none of us drink except well, one guy drinks.
Straight edge sons of bitch.
I get IBC root beers and
Good
an
for you.
IBC black cherry. That's like our soda that we drink. But
Cool. That's
yeah,
awesome.
I mean, like we can have a beer if they want a beer or whatever. I don't care.
That's so cool,
But
though, man.
like Thursdays, basically my core staff, we go out for steaks after work.
Mhm.
So on Thursdays we go have steak and then we go see a movie. So whatever movie's out that week, and that's me as an owner. Like I take them out. Like they're not buying anything. Like they're just we're I. It's like, and I appreciate you. You know, you worked late. I pay them obviously. Like they're still on the clock, but like it's more of like a they could work and just work their ass off and be like, you could be like, well, you're getting paid overtime, but realistically, it's like just appreciate them. Be like, hey, like, I want to take care of you guys. Or like, just be like, all right, we're ahead on the schedule. So I cleared off Wednesday. Like, we're going to the trampoline park or we're going on a motorcycle ride all day. Like, whatever. That's just what we're doing. Like, if you don't want to go home. I don't care.
Right.
But like, I'm
That's
willing to
sick.
pay for us to go on this trip or do this thing because I appreciate you guys. And like, that's what I said. All the core people that I still have been with us forever because it doesn't feel like work. Like, we come in, we bullshit, we play music, we're working, but we're still like, while you're loading shirts or they're on press or I'm pulling shirts off because we
Yeah.
need help, it's like we're just bullshitting about shit we did last night or whatever we're doing.
Yeah, man. So you're friends. You
Yeah,
work with a bunch of
we're
friends.
friends, but we're work people. Like I said,
That's cool.
if I have to tell somebody or have a talk with somebody about work performance, it's just more like sitting them down and being real. It's not like yelling at people. It's like, hey, I noticed, on a job you did yesterday that this, we had to reprint that job because of an issue, but like, why did this happen? Or, how can we get around this next time? It's not like that. I'm not mad at you, but I'm disappointed in you parent talk. It's just like, dude, like, that I have to pay for this to reprint, but like, I'm not mad, but like, how can we like fix this so this doesn't happen again? And 9 times out of 10, they're just like, they realize that like, yeah, we're friends, but like
Have,
that job costs money.
that actually raises a question for me to you. How have you found methods or ways of putting more of that final product responsibility on your guys? Like, I mean, I don't know if you have a quality control person or if you're that person, but making them take more responsibility for the final product. Any methods or tricks for that?
I think
Any
I think for us it's
psychological
that
methods?
yeah, I think for us it's that PC thing of like we just like will pick on them or bust their ass all day if like they do something. Like for here, I feel like the biggest like no of like I'm gonna hear shit all day for this is like a palette print. Like
No
that's
bueno,
like
huh?
the biggest no-no of like, you hear that pop of like somebody who printed a pallet on the auto, and it's
Yeah.
just like you hear everybody in the shop like, oh, and it's just like,
You're gonna get your
you
ass
know what I mean?
slammed,
Like
dude.
you're gonna get shit all day. So I feel like it's just the high school being scared of being bullied.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Like I said, everybody here takes pride in what they do because they see us post stuff or they see customers come in that are stoked to like get stuff.
Yeah.
I feel like everybody just appreciates the fact of like what they're doing, and people know they work for this company and they, respect us. So I feel like a lot of it's just pride in what they do. So
Cool.
that's why I feel like you need employees that just aren't there to get a paycheck. They're there to be like, I'm a part of this company.
Yeah, and it does. It really sounds like that. If there's one thing you have going on, you have that. You've cultivated
Yeah,
that.
tried. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not always easy.
It's
It's
not
not like,
perfect.
yeah, we just throw parties all the time. It's like
Yeah.
there's real shit you have to deal with, and there's real people and real feelings. Like, I mean, there's stuff like, somebody might be out sick or somebody might, have a baby or do something. It's just like everybody here just immediately. I don't even have to ask. It's just like Chris. I didn't post a picture, but like he's in the office with me all day, but like his brother Bill who works here too, like just had a baby, and it's like I didn't even have to ask. He went out and like cleaned screens for like 5 hours yesterday
Wow.
because that was Bill's job. But like we're all kind of like helping out. Like Bill's our screen tech guy,
Yeah.
and like Brian, who does all the art stuff, just went out and burned all the jobs and cleaned all like did everything with the screens. And Chris cleaned all the screens. I didn't have to say a word. It was
See,
just
that's
like,
badass, dude.
let's just
That's
pick up the
amazing.
slack for the other dude and like keep
Yeah,
going.
that's sick. Well, this is gonna be the last question because we've been talking, baby.
8:20.
Yeah. The couple. Okay. Well, first off, where the fuck did that? Okay. So, what is your call on design? In-house, contract, Fiverr, Upwork, that kind of thing. How do you go about doing it?
Definitely not Fiverr. I mean, if it works for you.
Yeah.
I feel like the best thing I ever did, and this was hard for me for a while, with delegating stuff, is just try to hunt down, like take a little bit of time. You don't have to do it all at once, but take time to find. Like, if you're on Instagram, there's like a bazillion designers, like people who are just freelance artists
Yeah.
that do cool shit. Like find a couple and just DM them and ask them like, hey, what are your rates? And then like I have a guy that I've probably sent like 10 orders to a day that is just like he does like all the regular stuff. Like Joe Plumber wants a new logo, and the Italian restaurant wants some new design options or whatever, and it's like I just forward that email to him, and like within 24 hours he gives me like 3 options for each person.
That's sick.
Like, and I just pay him, like he gives me a great rate because I'm giving him so much work.
Yeah.
But like if somebody comes to me and they're like, dude, I really want like flaming skulls with like like all this stuff, and I'm like, I know that's gonna be hand drawn. Like there's this dude I know in like the Philippines that I've done a ton of work with,
Yeah.
that just is awesome at skulls. It's like
Right.
find freelance guys that are willing to work for you and give you a decent rate, that just like, again, they're good at one thing or good at a couple things.
Yeah.
And then you just send them work and like be honest with the customer and be like, hey, like I personally don't have time in the day, but like I know this guy who do really awesome work, and like I'm gonna kind of like feed your info to him, and he's gonna come back with me within a couple days, and we'll give you some options. And they're usually like, oh, that's awesome, that's perfect.
That's
because like you can show them the portfolio. But I feel like if you're just like trying to do artwork all day in your shop, like you're wasting so many hours.
Do you
just doing artwork?
But do you have someone that separates in there and that kind of gets it actually print ready? So you kind of
Yeah,
have
like
your
we have a guy.
you have your
We have a
seps
guy
guy.
Brian that's just does art seps and films and stuff like that all day long, and like he's amazing at it. Like he's super attention to detail. Like we say he's the art department, but like he doesn't do any actual art. He just does all the actual like technical sep stuff.
But so
and,
when
like,
it
we
comes
have
down to
people
the
here, like we all know how to use Photoshop really well and Illustrator, and it's like we can make stuff. Like I could definitely make designs for people. Like all our live print stuff, like I make all the designs for that. But it's like it's a time management thing. Like, do I want to spend 2 hours making Joe Plumber's artwork, or do I want to spend 2 hours replying to like 45 emails?
There you go. And Instagram is a invaluable resource. That's where we use them almost exclusively for Finder. Or I do anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah,
like
and a lot of Indonesia, right? Like there's a lot of guys out of Indonesia and the Philippines that are doing killer stuff for decent rates. They're not free, but they're decent.
Almost all the guys I use are under $100.
You're right. That's about what I found from those areas.
And like people who really care about their like. There's so many companies, like I said, a plumber guy. That's his logo. Like that's his brand. Like why would he go somewhere and pay $10 for a logo Like, dude, be like, spend $75, which is still dirt cheap,
Yeah.
and be like, oh, I got this design I'm cool with. It's not like a contractor who like gets the same logo of like a couple roofs of a house with his name under it. And it's like,
Yeah.
dude, come on, for real. Like, this is your baby. Like,
This
this
is
is
your
your
company,
brand.
bro.
Like,
Come on. Right.
yeah, put a little time and effort into it.
Well, I love that, man. And I mean, we could go on in the Q&A all day, but I got Jesse out here poking his head in, wanting answers and shit. So we gotta cut this one short. It's nighttime over there. You're
It's
done.
8:30.
Cool, man. Well, thank you so much for taking the time, bro. I know it was a gigantic pain in the ass, but this was extremely educational. I know a lot of people are going to really enjoy listening to this one.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me.
Before you bounce, let's just get all of your plugs, man. Your website, your Instagram, all that shit.
The only real plug I have, I mean, if you want to go to the website, you can. It's upstatemerch.com. The biggest thing is talk to me. I'm always willing to chat and stuff. Hit us up on Instagram. That's the biggest thing for us. I mean, we're a visual company, so why not post pictures of our stuff? So
Is it just Upstate Merch? Just
at
search
Upstate Merch. Yeah.
At Upstate Merch. Okay. Any Twitter or anything like that? Any YouTube?
No, Twitter is awful.
You have a YouTube.
I will not go on there.
I agree.
We have a YouTube. We do post
Twitter.
videos, but
Twitter
usually
is a
it's just
goddamn
goofy shit.
garbage can. That's what Twitter
We will
is.
be posting a new video here within the next week or so because we remodeled the office and we kind of want to destroy some stuff.
Okay.
So we're probably going to post that. But yeah, if you want to follow us on YouTube, that's pretty awesome too. You just search Upstate Merch and subscribe. That'd be sweet. But
okay.
Yeah, if you want to do that and follow us on Instagram, that's cool with me.
Yeah, guys, go subscribe to them on all that shit. Thank him for giving us all this time and all this information. That I would say is pretty much it, Dylan. So I'm gonna go ahead and sign off with you, and we're gonna do this outro, my friend.
Sounds good, man.
All right. So thank you, Print Fam, for hanging with me. Also, you know, I say this at the end of every video. Once this thing wraps, be sure to like it, share it, subscribe it. Just get this thing out on all the social media platforms. Let everyone know that it's going down. Trying to grow this thing. And the only way to grow it is if you guys help by sharing this shit on all the other social platforms. Also, if you have a question that didn't get answered in this video, leave the question in the comments. I'm sure I can persuade Dylan to swing by the comments every once in a while. I'm sure, hopefully, he'll happily answer your questions. So leave those questions in the comments. And even though you were interacting in the chat, please, once this video posts as an actual video, get in there and leave a comment. Let us know you were here. Let us know that you enjoyed it. Just some general shit. And, of course, in the comments, thank Dylan for being on the show. That's going to be it. We'll catch you next Wednesday at 3 p.m. Arizona time, which could be whatever depending on East Coast, West Coast. But be there or be a piece of shit. See you guys next time. Peace out.